On the 7th day of September, in the year 2025, Ukraine unleashed one of its most formidable guided missile assaults since the conflict erupted, as a Vilha-M crew readied to deploy the nation's premier domestically produced missile, an 800-kilogram behemoth engineered to obliterate fortified bunkers. Yet, in the pivotal moment, as they zeroed in on a colossal Russian ammunition storage facility, an enemy counter-battery radar unveiled their location. Mere minutes later, Smerch rockets hurtled toward them, while Russia's elite air defense arrays, including the Tor M2 and Pantsir S-1 systems valued at a staggering $500 million, mobilized to neutralize the threat. 4 missiles surged forward, battling against time, satellite navigation disruptions, and formidable barriers of metal and technology. You are on the verge of experiencing Ukraine's most audacious incursion into Russian soil. But will this daring operation triumph, or will it succumb to the overwhelming might of Russian countermeasures? At 10:30 in the evening, local time, on the 7th of September in 2025, a Ukrainian Vilha-M team, stationed in Prask, was gearing up to target a Russian ammunition depot when their sensors detected electromagnetic signals from a Russian Zoopark M1 counter-battery radar positioned 38 kilometers distant. What had commenced as a standard offensive maneuver was swiftly escalating into a desperate struggle for endurance. The radar specialist's initial alert materialized when his passive detection equipment illuminated with the distinctive frequency signature of the Zoopark's scanning sequence. This Russian apparatus is capable of identifying outbound artillery projectiles at distances extending to 23 kilometers and pinpointing their origin points in under 30 seconds. Drawing from typical reaction timelines, the crew estimated they possessed precisely 6 minutes before BM-30 Smerch rockets would converge on their site. Their 12-tube Vilha-M launcher was primed with 4 missiles directed at the Kartisk ammunition depot. The team leader activated urgent launch protocols as the operators hastily inputted satellite positioning data. Each Vilha-M demands exact target coordinates, relayed from Ukrainian elite drone operatives in the Typhoon detachment embedded within Russian lines, transmitted via a secure encrypted channel to the missile's navigation module. This process ordinarily consumes 3 minutes. Now, they were compelled to condense it into 90 seconds. The Vilha-M represents Ukraine's pinnacle of indigenous rocket engineering, crafted by the Pivden Design Bureau. Each projectile masses 800 kilograms and bears a 170-kilogram explosive payload, designed to penetrate reinforced concrete structures. Its guidance suite integrates Global Positioning System, Russia's counterpart GLONASS satellite network, and an inertial navigation system, achieving precision between 10 and 30 meters at full extension, with each unit commanding an exorbitant $300,000. At 10:32, Russian interference across Global Positioning System frequencies amplified dramatically. Absent satellite confirmation, the crew relied on pre-mapped coordinates accurate to within 5 meters. Abruptly, at 10:33, infrared detectors registered thermal signatures 32 kilometers to the northeast. Smerch batteries had discharged their volleys. A Smerch projectile propels at 1,200 meters per second, implying arrival in approximately 4 minutes. The Vilhelm's automated loading mechanism could prepare 1 missile every 20 seconds, but the imperative was to unleash all 4 prior to relocation. The producer stipulates 45-second intervals between launches to mitigate heat buildup. They had merely 30 seconds at their disposal. At 10:34, the inaugural Vilha-M erupted from its canister, its ignition flare immediately detectable to any radar within 50 kilometers. The team forewent monitoring the flight path. The operator was already commencing the subsequent launch, concurrent with the driver igniting the 8x8 transport vehicle's engine. Ukrainian tactical guidelines mandate repositioning within 90 seconds post-initial discharge, yet fulfilling the bombardment objective took precedence. The second missile ignited at 10:34:30, generating a 40-meter heat trail captured by Russian infrared surveillance. The Zoopark 1M had refined their coordinates to within 50 meters and disseminated them to various artillery contingents. The team leader could now discern the approaching rockets, a faint shriek signaling 30 seconds to collision. The third missile propelled at 10:35. Its detonation wave shattered glass in edifices 200 meters afar. The launch platform's heat-resistant coating exhibited fractures from the accelerated cadence. 1 projectile lingered. The driver elevated the engine to 2,200 revolutions per minute, poised to surge ahead once the final missile departed. 30 seconds thereafter, the fourth Vilha-M ascended precisely as the lead Smerch impacted 400 meters northward of their stance. Their 30-ton conveyance advanced, while subsequent rockets enveloped their former locale. They had exposed themselves to every Russian formation within 100 kilometers. But 4 precision-guided munitions were now hurtling toward Kartisk at 1,100 meters per second. At 10:40, the Vanguard Vilha-M missile plummeted through 8,000 meters elevation as it approached the perimeter of Russian aerial safeguards. Its onboard artificial intelligence processor refreshed the orientation data 50 times each second while evaluating disruptions intended to corrupt satellite receivers. In roughly 1 minute, it would either deliver its payload or represent a costly misstep in the ongoing strife over Donbass. The missile's triply redundant navigation promptly identified degraded global positioning system integrity upon ingress into Russian-controlled airspace. Signal-to-noise levels dipped beneath acceptable limits, compelling a transition to GLONASS. However, Russian forces were obstructing that constellation as well, forging an electronic void engineered to thwart accurate armaments. Within 500 milliseconds, the Vilha-M defaulted to unadulterated inertial guidance. Its fiber optic gyroscopes maintained directional fidelity at 0.2 degrees per hour. Concurrently, 28 kilometers ahead, a Tor-M2 air defense unit acquired the inbound missile via its search radar. The controller observed as the target descended through 6,000 meters at 1,100 meters per second, squarely within interception criteria. The Tor's targeting radar secured lock at 10:41:15. Its phased array emitter concentrated 600 kilowatts on the Vilhelm's radar signature. The Tor-M2, Russia's foremost short-range defense apparatus, is tailored to counter precisely such ordnance. Its 9 M338 interceptors can engage threats from 1 to 15 kilometers in range and 10 meters to 10,000 meters in height, with response intervals of 5 to 7 seconds. Against a projectile at Mach 2.8 velocity, such an adversary would typically yield a guaranteed neutralization. Yet, the Vilha-M deviated from predictable flight. At 10:42, its navigation initiated a preset evasion, veering 15 degrees leftward while sustaining descent trajectory. This minor adjustment displaced it beyond the Tor's anticipated intercept envelope, necessitating a recomputation of target vectors. The operator sanctioned engagement regardless, and 2 9M338 missiles launched 30 seconds later. The primary interceptor ascended toward the forecasted intersection, but the Vilha-M executed an additional maneuver 20 degrees rightward with a modest pitch alteration nullifying the Tor's projection. Acknowledging the initial interceptor's probable failure, the Tor controller shifted to manual oversight. His display indicated the target at 3,000 meters altitude, 18 kilometers distant, with impact imminent in under 60 seconds. A Pantsir S-1 battery 12 kilometers eastward commenced scanning. The Tor's follow-up barrage fared superiorly. Their proximity detonators activated within 50 meters of the Vilha-M, yet neglected to compromise the warhead or controls. The proximate detonation disrupted the path, but integrated accelerometers logged the variance, and the processor swiftly rectified it. As the lead missile descended through 1,500 meters, the secondary Vilha-M penetrated the engagement zone merely 30 seconds astern. The Tor-M2 personnel, fixated on the forefront threat, retained 4 missiles with 2 perils in close proximity. Protocol emphasizes the nearest hazard, yet managing multiple supersonic intruders surpasses the system's bandwidth. The Pantsir S-1 endeavored to assist, but grappled with challenges as the Vilha encroached from its blind quadrant periphery. By the juncture its 57 E-6 missiles primed, the initial projectile had dropped beneath 500 meters into terrain-obscured regions where interception verged on infeasibility. At 10:49, the lead Vilha-M initiated terminal descent 8 kilometers from the Kartisk ammunition depot. 4 Russian air defense networks amalgamated their sensors upon it, enveloping the missile in radar emissions. The ensuing 45 seconds would ascertain if months of Ukrainian reconnaissance would culminate in victory or futility. The Tor team harbored one final opportunity. Their radar pursued the missile hugging the landscape, concealed by a ridge formation. In 15 seconds, it would surmount the elevation and plummet onto the objective. Thus, the operator aligned his remaining missiles for that apex and awaited. 3 kilometers southward, a Panzer S-1 ultimately engaged. Equipped with 12 57E6 missiles, effective to 20 kilometers, its crew had monitored the Vilha since it fell below 1,000 meters, but contended with signal clutter. Their sophisticated phased array oscillated frequencies, incapable of piercing the interference. The depot's ultimate safeguard was a ZSU-23-4 Shilka positioned northward. Its quartet of 23mm autocannons could discharge 3,400 rounds per minute, erecting a deadly barrage against low-altitude incursions. The gunner oriented toward the projected vector. Yet the radar-directed fire control faltered in differentiating the missile from ambient interference. At a 300 meters per second closure rate, he would possess merely 3 seconds for engagement. At 10:49, the Vilha M crested the ridge as foreseen. Both residual Tor missiles discharged instantaneously, racing toward convergence as the missile dipped to 380 meters, with solely 12 seconds to detonation. But the second Vilha M materialized at that instant, ascending the identical ridge 2 kilometers northward. The Panzer S-1 crew, jolted by the unforeseen peril, fragmented their salvo 3 missiles per target. Alarm superseded protocol, which advocated consolidated barrages. Their Mach 3 command-guided interceptors required 8 seconds to reach, but dispersing fire diminished strike likelihood. The lead Vilha's payload armed at 200 meters elevation, its radar altimeter furnishing ultimate adjustments. Beneath, munitions personnel evacuated, forsaking loaders burdened with 122mm rockets. At 10:50, the Tor's concluding missiles traversed within 30 meters, but their proximity initiators malfunctioned against that profile. Both erupted astern of the rocket as it plunged toward the depot. The Shilka commenced firing at 600 meters, unleashing tracer rounds in a frantic bid to fragment the missile. The third Vilha emerged 20 seconds subsequently from the east, where defenses were sparser. Throughout the depot, alarms wailed as staff dashed for shelters. At 10:49:10, the lead missile's detonator detected the warehouse canopy below and ignited upon contact. 170 kilograms of potent explosive demolished the eastern facade instantaneously. That marked merely the onset. Within housed thousands of tons of Russian ordnance primed for catastrophe. At 10:49, the concussion assaulted stacks of 152mm projectiles. The jolt and thermal surge kindled propellant mixtures. Within 300 milliseconds, the inaugural secondary blast erupted. The second Vilha impacted the northern storage 30 seconds later, breaching the roof amid crates of BM-21 Grad rockets. The explosion activated 6 rockets, elevating the 15-ton roof akin to a tempestuous gale. The third missile struck the western facility at 10:50:20, detonating amongst 9 M22 Uragan rockets laden with cluster munitions. Heat and compression triggered the cargoes, instigating a cascade that buckled frameworks and dispersed incendiary propellant across the premises. By 10:51, conflagrations encroached upon the coveted reserve of 300 surface-to-air missiles housed in transport crates. Each encompassed 133 kilograms of high explosive augmented by solid propellant. The detonation fractured panes in Kartisk's urban core 3 kilometers remote. The fourth Vilha arrived at 10:52, but its designated structure had vanished. Coded for that locale, it assaulted the blaze instead, amplifying the ruin. Solid rocket engines overheated, propelling erratically like uncontrolled projectiles before exploding throughout the vicinity. Russian fire suppression teams 2 kilometers distant could solely observe as temperatures exceeded 1,800 degrees Celsius. At 10:55, a subterranean vault containing 300mm Smerch rockets detonated, forging a 40-meter abyss and a towering plume. By 11:10, 4 immense infernos persisted where warehouses once stood. Even Russian commanders conceded the annihilation of nearly 3,000 tons of munitions pivotal to the front lines. That equated to 3 weeks' supply of Russian artillery eradicated in moments. This audacious strike not only inflicted a $2 billion setback on Russia's logistical backbone, but also disrupted their offensive momentum in the Donbass theater, compelling a re-evaluation of supply chain vulnerabilities. Ukrainian ingenuity in missile design and tactical execution shone through, demonstrating how domestically produced weaponry could level the playing field against a numerically superior adversary. The Vilhelm's blend of precision guidance and evasion algorithms proved resilient against Russia's layered defenses. from counter-battery radars to advanced surface-to-air systems. This event underscores the evolving nature of modern warfare, where electronic warfare, rapid mobility, and intelligence integration dictate outcomes more than sheer firepower. Delving deeper into the technical prowess, the Vilha-M's guidance system merits further examination. By seamlessly transitioning between Global Positioning System, GLONASS, and inertial modes, it circumvents jamming attempts that have plagued less sophisticated munitions. The fiber-optic gyroscopes ensure minimal drift, maintaining accuracy even in complete electronic denial environments. Costing $300,000 apiece, these missiles represent a cost-effective alternative to imported systems, bolstering Ukraine's self-reliance in defense manufacturing. The Pivden Design Bureau's innovations draw from decades of Soviet-era expertise, refined through post-independence collaborations and wartime necessities. On the Russian side, the Tor M2 and Pantsir S1, despite their $500 million valuations per battery, revealed limitations in handling saturation attacks. Designed for point defense, they excel against solitary threats but falter under multiple simultaneous inbounds, as evidenced by the split fire decisions that diluted interception probabilities. The ZSU-23-4 Shilka, a Cold War relic, provided a last-ditch kinetic barrier, but its radar struggles with low-flying, high-speed targets highlight the need for upgrades in Russia's integrated air defense network. The Kartisk depot's destruction reverberated beyond immediate tactical losses. 3,000 tons of ammunition, encompassing artillery shells, Grad rockets, Uragan systems, and S-300 missiles translated to a logistical nightmare. Russian forces, reliant on sustained barrages to maintain pressure, faced shortages that could stall advances for weeks. Intelligence reports suggest this strike was informed by Typhoon unit drone reconnaissance, which infiltrated deep into enemy territory to provide real-time coordinates, underscoring the critical role of unmanned assets in contemporary conflicts. In the broader strategic context, this operation exemplifies Ukraine's shift toward asymmetric warfare, targeting high-value assets to erode Russia's material superiority. The $2 billion valuation of the depot accounts not only for the munitions worth but also the infrastructure, security systems, and potential replacement costs amid global sanctions limiting resupply. Such strikes compel Russia to disperse stockpiles, increasing vulnerability to further attacks and straining transportation networks already under duress from partisan activities and long-range precision fires. As the conflict persists into its fourth year, incidents like this highlight the human element amid technological clashes. The Vilha-M crew's composure under fire, compressing launch sequences, evading counter-battery strikes, and prioritizing mission completion embodies the resilience of Ukrainian forces. Facing Smerch rockets closing at 1,200 meters per second, their 30-ton vehicle maneuvered through bracketing explosions, a testament to training and doctrine honed through relentless combat. For military analysts, this event offers lessons in defense layering. Russia's electromagnetic dead zones, while effective against basic GPS-dependent weapons, proved insufficient against multi-mode guidance. Future iterations might incorporate laser or terrain-matching navigation to further enhance resilience. Conversely, Ukraine could expand Vilha-M production, potentially integrating swarm tactics to overwhelm defenses like the Tor and Pantsir. The environmental and humanitarian fallout cannot be ignored. The mushroom cloud from the underground bunker explosion, rising amid temperatures of 1,800 degrees Celsius, likely dispersed hazardous materials across Kartisk, affecting civilian populations 3 kilometers away. Shattered windows and secondary detonations underscore the collateral risks in densely populated conflict zones. In summation, Ukraine's Vilha-M strike on the Kartisk depot stands as a pivotal moment, destroying a $2 billion asset and disrupting Russian operations for weeks. It showcases the potency of indigenous innovation against imported might, reshaping the battlefield dynamics. If this frontline saga captivated you, remember to like, comment your thoughts on future Ukrainian tactics, and subscribe for more in-depth analyses of modern warfare every week. Your engagement fuels our coverage. Thank you for joining this journey into the heart of the conflict.